damn it, we're fucking here. I've been very not excited to talk about this movie because, to be honest with you guys, let me tell you a little story. So, when I was a little bit younger, getting into film, I was massively obsessed with Tim Burton's movies. I had seen every single one of them I could have up until the time. There was a few of them that were rated R, so I didn't watch those because I was not allowed to watch rated R movies. But I loved all of his movies, even the bad ones, including this one, which I only saw once before making this video. Maybe twice. I think I did a Planet of the Apes binge watch, or I at least try to watch the Planet of the Apes movies. Anyways, didn't like this one. Well, no, I liked this one, but I didn't like it as much as his other catalog of stuff. There was favorites I had. This was back when also I thought he directed Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff. And then as I got older, I realized, hey, this Tim Burton dude kind of sucks. He has made majority bad movies. There's some good movies in his catalog. Like, I really love Frank and Weenie, the stop motion version, and the short. I think those are pretty cool movies. I really enjoy Beetlejuice, and Sleepy Hollow's great. Pee-wee's Big Adventure's great. Mars Attacks is pretty good. Corpse Bride, kind of hit or miss, but I would say it's, good, just not my thing. There's a few other ones in there, but once we start getting into, like, his 90s kind of era, after, like, Edward Scissorhands and things like that, I would say, like, late 90s Tim Burton is when this dude started to crumble. And it really started with this movie. We should not hand Tim Burton remakes. I don't know why Hollywood seems like they just keep doing this. I mean, every time he's handed a remake, it is awful. Nobody likes it, except for the Alice in Wonderland movie, because that made like $1 billion. But even then, like, I think if you asked like 10 people in a room, there'd be like 3 or 4 of them that would tell you it's good, and then the other 6 would be like, or it's bad. So, like, just stop handing this guy remakes. He did the Dumbo movie, which was a failure. He did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I know some people like. I fucking hate that movie. I think it's garbage. Like, I can't, it's like unwatchable to me. Like, I watched it to do a review before Wonka came out, and that was, like, just off. But this one, I will say, is his best remake. Because Tim Burton, in interviews while making this movie, it said that this is a movie that he felt like he was doing a reimagining of Planet of the Apes. And I think you can feel that on the screen. This movie actually went through development hell because basically Fox did not know where to go with Planet of the Apes. It lay dormant for several years. And by the time the 90s hit, they rebooted it. In fact, fun fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually originally going to be in this movie, and then he got tired of waiting because this movie was in production limbo forever, so he just signed on to do Jingle All the Way, and that's how that movie got made. So, he dodged the bullet with this one because this movie didn't like bomb. But it's also a movie that, like, most people who saw it never wanted to watch it again, and they didn't make sequels, obviously, so the movie didn't work. But, again, this is his best remake, so let's talk about what works before we kind of get into what doesn't work. This movie is kind of the era of Tim Burton where he is doing a lot of the practical stuff, and his effects here are great. A lot of the makeup here is great. A lot of the backgrounds and scenery looks great. Some of the best in the franchise, right? There's a couple things that look a little bit wonky, but for the most part, all of it looks pretty solid. Out of all the practical effects in the franchise, this is some of the best. And some of the acting is really good. So let's get into what doesn't work about this movie. First off, Mark Wahlberg is incredibly miscast in this movie. He has no business being in this movie. So actually let's talk about one more plus. I do like that there's a lot more action in this movie. But that's also just the fact that this is a 90s movie, and like the other ones were made in the 60s and 70s, so they're a little bit slower paced. They weren't as quick moving as this film is, because movies at this time were just more quick moving than movies back in the 70s and 60s, right? But I do appreciate that a little bit for the tone of this movie. Though I will say, what I don't like about this movie is just the simple fact that this movie, it just feels off in everything it's doing. Like, it just doesn't feel like a Planet of the Apes movies to me. It feels more like an action movie, like an action adventure movie. And like Planet of the Apes movies aren't that. They're saying something about our society or the characters in the movie. And, so this is rebooting the original franchise, but I don't feel like it's capturing the point of the original movie or saying anything with that. You have that amazing twist ending in the original and making us really rethink about how, we treat apes and how, it's playing with all these different science fiction concepts to really make us think, where this movie just feels a lot dumber, and I just don't like that, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't think it's a horrible movie, but I don't like watching it. It just doesn't capture me at all. I find, like, if this was a movie on TV, this is a movie I'd watch for a couple minutes, then flip the channel. That's kind of the best bet for this movie, because there's just not a lot here. I don't know. I'm glad we're going to be moving on to Rise of the Planet of the Apes and that whole trilogy starting next week, because I did not enjoy talking